You ever found yourself in a crowded room, microphone in hand, just belting out a power ballad? Of course you have. That whole experience, the global thing we call karaoke, it feels like it's just always been there. But its whole story starts with one guy, a really simple request, and a machine that was literally built inside a wooden box. So let's pull back the curtain on this incredible and totally accidental story of how the world learned to sing along.
All right, so to get this story, we've got to go back in time. We're in the bustling port city of Kobe, Japan during the 1960s. Now, this was a nation right in the middle of a massive post-war economic boom. The air was just thick with optimism, with ambition, and yeah, the sound of rebuilding.
You know, the name karaoke itself actually gives you a huge clue about where it all came from. It's a mashup of two Japanese words, kara, which means empty, and oke, which is just a shortened way to say orchestra. So, empty orchestra. Before it became this global pastime, it was just slang that people in the industry used when a singer had to perform with a pre-recorded track because the live band didn't show up. And that idea of an empty orchestra was about to meet a very, very real demand. This brings us to the whole cultural vibe of the time, which, you'll see, perfectly set the stage for what was about to happen. I mean, think about it. Japan's economy was just surging. And this created this whole class of businessmen who worked incredibly hard all day long and, they desperately needed an outlet at night. So the bars and clubs in Kobe became their escape, and they were always filled with music. But here's the thing. These guests, they weren't happy just sitting there and listening. After a couple drinks, they wanted to be the star. They wanted to grab that microphone for themselves.
So the demand was there. It was bubbling just under the surface. All it needed was the right person to notice it. And that's where our accidental inventor comes in. A guy who wasn't trying to change the world, he was just trying to solve a customer's problem.
Meet Daisuke Inoue. He was a keyboardist and a drummer in a club in Kobe. And by his own admission, this guy was no musical genius. In fact, he couldn't even read sheet music very well. But he had this different and way more valuable talent. He was brilliant at playing along with amateur singers, often very drunk singers, and he could adjust the key and the tempo on the fly just to make them sound amazing. He was basically an enabler of joy. And this brings us right to the big moment. Back in 1971, a regular client, the president of a small steel company, he asks Inoue to come with him on a business trip just so he could entertain his clients. Well, Inoue couldn't go, so he had this idea. He recorded his keyboard parts onto a cassette tape in a key the businessman could actually sing in. The client comes back a few days later and he is ecstatic. It was a huge hit. He asks for more tapes, and that's when the light bulb just went off for Inoue.
He decided he would build a machine that could do this for absolutely everyone, anytime they wanted, and he called it the Juke 8.
Now forget about sleek electronics. The very first karaoke machine was built with parts you could find pretty much anywhere. Inoue started with a wooden cabinet, basically just a box. And inside, he wired up a simple cassette tape player, an amplifier, a microphone, and get this, a 100-yen coin timer that he just salvaged from somewhere. This thing was completely homespun.
So what did this experience cost you? A single 100-yen coin. For 100 yen, you could buy yourself 3 minutes of being the center of attention, of being the star of the show. It was a pretty small price to pay for a little moment of glory. But there was a problem. A huge one, actually. Just because you build it, that doesn't mean people are going to come, especially when you're up against this really powerful cultural barrier, shame.
So, Inoue places his first 11 Juke 8 machines in bars all around Kobe, and nothing. Crickets. They just sat there, totally silent. You see, in the Japan of that time, standing up and singing in front of everybody without a live band to back you up, that was seen as awkward, even a little bit shameful. His invention was right on the verge of being a complete and total failure.
But Inoue didn't give up. He realized he didn't have to redesign the machine, he needed to hack the social situation. The problem wasn't the technology, it was the atmosphere. His solution? It was pure genius. He hired a few attractive hostesses to go into the bars, pretend to be customers, and be the first ones to get up and enthusiastically sing on the new machine.
And just like that, the ice was broken. As soon as somebody else went first, all that shame just vanished. Suddenly, it seemed fun, it was acceptable, and pretty soon, everyone wanted a turn. The Juke 8 went from being this silent box in the corner to the absolute life of the party, and the karaoke craze just spread like wildfire all across the country. Now, this is where the story takes a really fascinating and kind of bittersweet turn. Inoue had created this massive cultural phenomenon, but the next chapter, well, it would be written by other people, shaping a legacy that was huge in impact, but not so much in dollars.
At the very heart of this story is this incredible fact. Daisuke Inoue never filed a patent. He just didn't think of it. To him, the Juke was just a combination of stuff that already existed. It was a tool to make his job easier and his customers happier. He couldn't imagine it would turn into a global industry.
And because he didn't have a patent, the door was just wide open. All the major electronics corporations saw the massive potential, and they just swooped in and took Inoue's concept to a whole other level. They added on-screen lyrics with laser discs, video backgrounds. They turned karaoke into the polished billion-dollar industry that we all know today. And Inoue, the guy who started the whole thing, never saw a single yen from those incredible profits.
So while he missed out on the fortune, he did get a different kind of recognition. In 2004, he was awarded the Ig Nobel Peace Prize. The citation for the award is pretty funny, but it's also deeply profound. It wasn't for technology, but for creating an entirely new way for people to learn to tolerate one another. He gave the world a gift of connection.
And that right there really is his true legacy. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? From a smoky little bar in Kobe to office parties and family gatherings all around the world. If it weren't for that simple idea back in 1971, how would we fill the silence and find our voice together today?